All right. NFL preseason week 2 brought to you by Betfred Sports. It's I've been waiting for these lines to come out. I was actually right in front of the monitor, checking my phone if I had to leave for most of the afternoon and night. And it took a long time for these lines to come out. As a matter of fact, uh DraftKings wasn't the first book to come out. It wasn't them this time. And they like to say they're the sharpest book. I tend to disagree a little bit about that. But the good news is that these lines are out, and I was able to make some plays myself and send them out to premium members. Obviously, if the line moves too much, we'll certainly jump on the other side of that. But either way, I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to go over some of my thoughts here on these preseason games. We're going to start out with the Cleveland Browns against the Eagles. You can see on our Betfred Sports screen, Cleveland Browns are dogs by about 4 points, right? Total 37.5. Now, what's going to be very rare if I ever lean to the over when it comes to a preseason game. But important thing about the Eagles is Nick Sirianni is there, and they're big favorites here, right? 4 points is a pretty large favorite when it comes to preseason football. You have to remember that the ones and twos come up a lot more frequently than people even know, right? The interesting thing about this too is if you want to look at Nick Sirianni's record at Philadelphia, it hasn't been good. I mean, he's only 1-1 in the middle, right? And for the Philadelphia Eagles, he is only 1-4 coming into this year in preseason football. This sample size is not big enough. It's not quite big enough yet to come to any conclusions here about how he's going to do in the preseason. But the thing that scares me a little bit about betting the other side is that, he did win a middle of the week game, a week 2 game now in preseason. It'd be week 3 if it was week 2 or 3 if it was back in 2021 or before. But he's got a few things to figure out there. He did play tough against the Ravens, if you remember. He was calling timeouts at the end of that game, and Brown had to get a first down with his legs, right? So he got a first down with his legs and able to put it away for the Ravens and all those bettors that laid the money for the Ravens. But I think what's important to know is that, Cleveland Browns, they've done very good in their Hall of Fame week. They really played a bunch of nobodies last week, and they weren't able to get it done. So, they're looking at the Eagles. They're looking at home field. They're looking at the Eagles bench as being certainly better than the Cleveland Browns bench. I wouldn't say by too much personally. I think that the Eagles, could play some really bad players actually, but, they lost to Washington. Now they're going to Philadelphia. My opinion is that this spread is a little bit too high. I think that you're going to see that in the marketplace too. You're going to see some people throw some money on the Cleveland Browns, and why not? Because Stefanski hasn't been bad in the preseason. 2-0 week 1, 1-1 in the middle weeks, and 1-1 in the final week. So not a big sample size for Stefanski, but you have to remember they're 1-1 so far this season. Is Jalen Hurts going to come out this week? This line kind of implies that a little bit. Does that matter because they're probably going to pull him right away? You have to think about that as well. So I'm going to give you a strong lean right now to the Brownies. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers versus the New York Giants. New York Giants, home field, straight -3, -105. So that means that there's a little bit of money coming in on Carolina. Carolina, we don't have any information on really of Bryce Young. I guess Bryce Young's probably going to start again. Maybe worth a first half bet, but he was terrible, and his offensive line was terrible. His first game, and man, did they get beat pretty bad last week. I will say that whenever there's a team in the preseason that gets embarrassed, you got to look to them the next week. The Giants, Dayball, I don't have a great verdict on him. He's only in his year 2. He already lost. He was one of my losses last week. I was on the Giants, and they almost won that game. Being that both these teams lost, they're probably giving a little more love to the Giants. But man, Carolina was embarrassed last week. And when you're embarrassed like that, I don't like to fade teams that were embarrassed, especially in the preseason, because maybe they will show something and they need a little bit more of a feel-good game coming into this week. Next game, we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is a massive spread. Atlanta's -7 right now on Betfred Sports. Total 38.5. Yeah, these totals, there's a lot of games that went over the total last week, so you're seeing a little bit higher totals. Well, Atlanta, they looked pretty not great last week, in my opinion, but did Cincinnati. They had their moments against the Packers, but Zach Taylor is a preseason fade in general. If you want to look at Zach Taylor's record, 3-7 in the preseason. What's he, 3-8 now? Because he lost to the Packers. He's 1-3 in the middle weeks. So that kind of tells me maybe I want to look to fade them. Well, Atlanta, Arthur Smith, 1-1 in week 1, 0-2 when it comes to week 2. So even though the Falcons beat the Dolphins only scored 3 points. It's not like they looked all that great either. Still got to lean to the dog here. In preseason football, any dog above 3 points has to be really looked at. Any dog above 6 points, you have to really consider making a play on that. So what are we at here? 7 points. I will probably end up being on this if it doesn't change here in the next few minutes, because I don't know how it got up to 7. I must have missed something, but the Bengals being 7-point dogs, even with an unmotivated coach, it feels a little bit too much. Now the Falcons will probably try to get Desmond Ridder going more, and for a fact that Joe Burrow isn't playing, so that's why you're seeing it so big. But now 7's a little bit too big. This is probably a play. Next, we have the Detroit Lions, and they are hosting the Jaguars. The Lions are +4. The total is 39.5, another pretty high total based upon the adjustment from last week. Jaguars, I would say Peterson, a little bit more prone to want to win in the preseason. Looking at some of their records, Dan Campbell for the Lions, 0-2, 1-1, and 0-2. He's more of a losing coach here coming into this week. He was 1-5 coming into the season in preseason football. And now he actually has a chance to maybe play a few more players. But I thought the Lions played pretty strong throughout the whole game last game. But does it warrant this kind of a spread? I don't know. I would lean towards the Lions for sure, because looking at the other coach, I don't think that Peterson is really going to be trying to win this game. I mean, you're not going to see a heck of a lot of Lawrence, right? You're not going to see, you might not see any of them. I would assume that he would come in and maybe play some, being that this spread so big. Like, what am I missing here is what I'm trying to figure out here, because Peterson, and I got to find Jacksonville, 1-4 the first week, but he's 5-4 in the middle weeks. 5-4 is almost 50%. You can't get anything from 5-4. That tells you absolutely nothing here. I'll share my screen at 5-4. Jacksonville in general, 8-12. So why the heck is he this much of a favorite here? I don't know. Certainly a strong lean here for me to Detroit. We'll try to gather some more information about that. Next game, the Dolphins at the Texans. Texans is -3. The total is 39.5. Well, the Dolphins were a team that looked very embarrassed last week, but the Dolphins also, Mike McDaniel does not care about preseason football so far. Not a big enough sample size, but obviously for the Houston Texans, DeMeco Ryans, we don't know really anything about him minus last week. So maybe more of a stay away in this situation with two coaches that are quite young and quite inexperienced. Next game, the Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is preseason hell right now. This game, preseason hell. And the reason why it's preseason hell is that these coaches are both bet on coaches. Sean McDermott, 12-7 coming into the season. He's now 13-7 from last week. That is not good. Mike Tomlin, 38-24 at 61%. Now he's 39-24. That's big, So, unfortunately, this is the home field advantage, is what you're seeing. You're seeing the -2.5 because the market's like, okay, we'll give them 2.5 points for home field advantage. I, I still lean to the Bills here in this situation because I'm getting points. Is it enough for me to bet in a preseason game? If it was 3, it would be. Probably not at 2.5, but we'll wait on that one and see what kind of information comes out as well. Chicago Bears at Indianapolis Colts. Well, I'll tell you this, Matt Eberflus is 4-0 so far. So that looks pretty good. And we don't know too much about what's going on with the Colts. Obviously, Shane Steichen lost that first game. That was an easy bet for us on the other side. That could start to get embarrassing. He's a new coach, so maybe he does pump them up a little bit more to play against the Bears. But the Bears aren't exactly looking to get Fields hurt. And Fields only played a few snaps. He was 3 for 3. And, most of his passing yards came from the run after the catch. If you saw DJ Moore make that awesome play, and I believe it was Khalil Herbert as well on a screenplay. Can't get that excited about that. But, I'm not going to fade the Bears that are 4-0. But at the same time, I'm not going to necessarily jump on the Colts right away either. More of a head scratcher for me. Definitely lean the dog in this situation. But what I do think is that Anthony Richardson is going to play a lot longer and hopefully a lot better. But I just don't like this Colts team in general coming into this season. So lean to the Bears for sure at 3.5. Tampa Bay Bucks versus New York Jets. And I took this as a bet, and I will give this out as well as a bet. I'm betting the Jets, and I bet them at plus 110. I believe it's now at -1.5. Minus 135 on Betfred, as you can see right here. That's too bad. I got it early, so it looks like I'm ahead of this line move. No, I got it at -110, so I'm 25 cents ahead of the line move. I thought it was plus 110, just trying to remember. This is just a simple situation. I'm not making a decision yet on coach, right? I'm not going to say that Robert Saleh being 6-0 now is for sure going to win, but his sample size is getting a lot better. And when you look on the other side, Todd Bowles, what's he, 7-13 now, 7-12 coming into preseason. I don't think that Todd Bowles cares. 2-7 in the middle weeks of preseason football. The only thing he has going for him is that he has some quarterbacks motivated to make the team, but isn't Baker Mayfield maybe a second string quarterback by now anyway? I'm sorry. Kyle Trask, even with the motivation there, I think Saleh's definitely got a good chance sitting here at home. This is an easy play for me for 2 stars. We're going to grab that for sure. The Jets, even at -135, I like it for 2 stars. I think they win the game. I'd lay all the way up to -160, 170. I doubt it's going to get that high, but that's going to be the play. 2 stars on the Jets. Next game, the Chiefs versus the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are massive, plus 7.5 dogs. And the thought process here is that Mahomes is going to play a little bit more. He did get in last game. Okay. He did get in last game, but I can't imagine he's going to play that much. I think Andy Reid likes to do his dress rehearsal a little bit more in the middle weeks, but he's still only 22 and 21 in the middle weeks. While, Arizona just tasted victory with Jonathan Gannon the very first week. He's got some stuff going on with Colt McCoy and some other quarterbacks there. 7.5, seriously? That's kind of a big spread here coming into the week. So what direction I'm probably going to go with this one. Next game, the New England Patriots against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are -2. The total of this game is 37. Packers got a nice win against the Bengals. Patriots plus 105 on the money line. But here's the deal. this is where you want to capitalize on coaching motivation. I think the Packers got their win. And yes, they want to see some more Jordan Love, but they also don't want to injure Jordan Love. If they know they're going to start Jordan Love, they know they're going to start Jordan Love, right? It doesn't matter to LaFleur. He's not going to injure his guy trying to figure something out. He's 1-3 in the middle weeks of preseason football, right? 1-3 in the middle weeks. That doesn't bode well while Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots. 26-17 in the middle weeks. There you have it, my friends. I am going pure on coaching motivation and the fact that Belichick's got some things to figure out. Might see some Mac Jones this game. I think that Patriots win this. I'm betting the Patriots do. I took plus 105 on the Patriots. I actually gave it out at plus 100. I don't know why I did that. Maybe it wasn't available at 105 when I made the play. But I'm taking the Patriots here for 2 stars. So there's another free play right off the bat coming into this week. Next week, we have, or next game, I should say, not next week, the Tennessee Titans versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 2-point home dogs, plus 115 on the money line, total 37.5. All right, so the Vikings, they have a lot to work out. You know that Cousins is going to start. Do they play him a little bit? I'm not sure. Kevin O'Connell sucks in the preseason. He's like 0-4 right now. Of course, the sample size is not big enough, so I can't really say that with conviction, but so far he has, right? So, that's interesting. But at the same time, Mike Vrabel, middle weeks, he's only 2-4 in preseason. Mike Vrabel for the year, what is he, 6-9 now, 6-8 coming into this season. So you have both losing coaches playing each other, both losing coaches. I'll tell you this, his draft picks certainly didn't look so good this week. And he's not going to start Tannehill coming into this game. That would be a huge mistake, in my opinion, trying to throw your main guy in because, you kind of look bad. I don't know what to say about the Titans. Let's see who else might be playing for them a little bit. I assume Will Levis is going to start and Malik Willis is going to come in, but that could be flip-flopped. Malik Willis has kind of been a bust already, according to many football people, but he's fighting for his life here. I don't want to fade a guy necessarily who's fighting for his football life. He's going to try hard, and you already saw it with a few guys last week that were going to get cut. They played really good. With Phillips on the Bears, it happens like that. So not really interested in a side at this point here on this game. And if anything, I would probably lean to the Titans just because I think they have a better defensive coach and defensive mind, and defense tends to show up a little bit better in the preseason. Next, we have the Denver Broncos at the San Francisco 49ers. This is one that kind of bucked my trend a little bit. I didn't bet it, thank goodness. But Kyle Shanahan's 10-8, but now he's 10-9, but he was really good in week 1 until last week. He got destroyed by the Raiders, right? So looking at Kyle Shanahan in the middle weeks, he's 4-4. Can't really make that much of a decision on Kyle Shanahan based upon coaching motivation at 4-4. It's 50% literally. While, Denver Broncos have the Sean Payton, who's 18-10 in the middle weeks. 18-10. That's pretty significant to me. Yet, guess who looked really bad? The whole 49ers team, really, the offensive line. But Trey Lance was horrible. This is literally Trey Lance's last chance, maybe even to make this team, So just because of that, it makes me stay off the Broncos on the money line side at minus 180. But, -4, I'm not going to lay -4 when the Niners look this bad, even though it's a preseason game, even though that Sean Payton is just so good in the middle weeks. It just scares me going against Shanahan and when he just looks so bad the very first week. So I'm going to tread lightly with that one. I'm probably going to watch this line a little bit. I wouldn't doubt if this goes back to 3. I could see this thing going back to 3 for sure. The next one we have is the Raiders versus the Rams. Now, the Raiders are -3.5. The total on this is 36.5, but we're going right back to the Raiders that look great in the preseason. Josh McDaniels is 2-1 in the middle weeks of the preseason. But, like the issue is he's not that great as a whole, right? Not enough sample size is what I should have said. That's the real issue. But what are we going to get here now that he won his first preseason game? He's 7-6. Is that going to mean anything? Probably not. And then on the other side of the coin, the Rams, McVay is one of the worst preseason guys out there, 2-8 right now. He doesn't care about preseason, and that's why you see the spread at +3.5. So that's very important to pay attention to too. Not really jumping to take the Rams. I would lean the Rams at 3.5, but I'll be waiting on that one as well. Cowboys versus the Seahawks. The Cowboys should have covered the 4.5 last week. That was my other loss. I think I gave it out at 4 though, so that just would have been a push. But it was 4.5 in many books. I don't know if it was after or before I gave it out, but Seattle, Pete Carroll is a fantastic preseason coach. Fantastic. But what you're going to see here is people bet the Cowboys because 7's too high. When the limits start rising a little bit, you're going to see this number go from 7 to 6. If you want to chase 1 point of line value, I don't blame you. You can. Then you have some options. But in my opinion, this is not going to stay at 7. I really believe it's going to go down a little bit, even though Pete Carroll's so good in the preseason. Pete Carroll doesn't care about blowing you out. Pete Carroll just cares about winning in the preseason, and his record is 26-20 right now, 27-20, I guess, after last week. But if you look at Pete Carroll in the middle, he's right at 11-11. Yeah, you're definitely going to see some buyback here against the Cowboys. McCarthy 30-31 right now, so he's kind of a 50% coach himself, but he is also 18-10 in the middle weeks. So, well, there you go. Maybe McCarthy tries a little bit more in the middle weeks here, and you might see maybe even a Dak sighting or something for this game a little bit. So that's interesting. Next game, let's move on to that's it, actually. Nope, it's not it. Sorry. Saints. That was it for Saturday. Saints versus Chargers is the game on Sunday. And it's funny, there's only one game on Sunday, I believe, and then one game on Monday. The Chargers are 3-point dogs at home. The total of this game is 37.5. Now, I know Staley beat his buddy or whoever he shares the stadium with, and Sean McVay. But who cares? McVay doesn't care about preseason in general. Neither does Brandon Staley. 1-1 first week. Now he's probably 2-1. 0-2 in the middle weeks and 0-2 in the final weeks. Brandon Staley does not care about preseason football, right? So that's important to know. But the Saints, Dennis Allen, he doesn't care in general either. They had a good showing last week, but 2-5 in the middle weeks. These are two unmotivated coaches here, in my opinion. And whenever there's unmotivated coaches facing off, you always look a little bit more towards the dog here in this situation. So the market looks at it like the spread being pretty small. Let me pull it back up here. I just lost it. It is, like I said, 3 -115 actually on the 3 side. So they expect to see more out of the Saints. But with two unmotivated coaches, in my opinion, unmotivated to win, you always look a little bit more towards the dog. But the problem is that Staley's just been so bad in the preseason. It's a smelly one. It's one you hold your nose. But this one gives the 3.5. I'll play it. I'll play it 3.5 in the Chargers. So be watching that line. And finally, the preseason god, Mr. John Harbaugh, is 3.5 points favorites against the Commanders. Money lines at -175. I think there's obviously a ton of value here. I mean, why would I not tell you to play the Ravens when they've won 24 in a row? The money line is hit on the Ravens 24 times in a row. All right. There's a prop out there in FanDuel that says, will he go undefeated in the preseason? Right now it's at +100. Yes. He plays Todd Bowles next week. So I mean, you can almost pencil that in as well, unless Todd Bowles, for some reason, really wants to win his final preseason game. I don't mind taking that prop either. If you assume that the Ravens are going to be 6-point favorites, laying minus 220 or so, you're getting kind of close to plus 100 anyway. I mean, a money line parlay probably makes more sense. But no, I mean, the Ravens at minus 1.75 is great value here at Betfred, and some other books already past minus 200. So I'm really shocked that Betfred's being so generous here. So, well, thank you to Betfred Sports for such wonderful lines. So there you have it, though. That's the plays we're going to make. Might be a parlay a little bit later in the week when these lines get a little bit more in hand. Some of these sevens go to minus 5.5, but I still like the side. Like for Seattle, I can see them being a parlay piece. But right now, the Patriots and the Jets are certainly my bet on teams, both for 2 stars. Now let's get into a little fantasy football with our guy, D Nasty.